Hello, good day. My name is Emmanuel Zay, the lead decorator of iWorld Painting. Today, I will be talking about two categories of paints that we have in the painting industry. This information would be useful to the client and to uh, upcoming painters and those that want to go into the painting industry. What are the two categories of this paint? We have one oil-based paint and water-based paint. Now, on a normal layman language, what comes to your mind when you say oil-based paint? Now, oil-based paint are paints that you can easily thin down or dilute with thinner, which means those paints you can't mix them with water because they are not compactable, in the sense that whenever you are applying an oil-based paint, you cannot thin that paint with water. The only liquid that is available to thin that paint is thinner. You understand? Now, the likes of oil-based paint are your gloss, your eggshell, then those are we have semi-gloss, we have eye gloss, a number of them. Now, these paints are usually meant for uh, irons, wood, depending on the substrate that you want to apply it on. Now, the reason why people go for oil-based paint is because of its rugged finish that it gives, the finesse that comes out, the smoothness that it gets, and the ability to adhere to every surface that it is being applied. Now, oil-based paints are usually friendly with temperature, which means temperature cannot affect them because they are not penetratable. You understand? It's hard for moisture to penetrate. Moisture cannot penetrate in oil-based paint. That is one of the good advantage of oil-based paint. That's why you see people use oil-based paint on their protectors, on their galvanized, and a number of substrate that they want to use it on. Now, oil-based paint also is a good paint because it's a paint that has a fine, smooth finish. It's extremely glossy. You understand? It gives a good reflection of light. That's one advantage of oil-based paint. Now, aside the number of advantages of oil-based paint, there are a number of disadvantages of oil-based paint. You understand? Now, oil-based paint normally it takes time to dry because the process that oil-based paint goes through its drying process is what we call oxidation. Now, what is oxidation? How does oil paint dry? You have to ask yourself those questions. Now, oil paint, the liquid that is in oil paint is thinner, is not water. That's why it's called the solvent in oil-based paint. Now, the solvent has to first of all evaporate. Now, when evaporation takes place, there is what we call coalescence. Coalescence take place, which means the binding of the binder, which is the acid resin, with the pigment of that oil-based paint. That process come into play, thereby allowing the paint to take oxygen after evaporation has taken place, after coalescence have taken place. Now, oxidation have to take place where the paint takes oxygen from the atmosphere so that the drying can go through the normal processes. You understand? That is how oil-based paints get to dry. So for you to apply an oil-based paint, it takes time. You have to wait at least a number of hours before you can do your second coat. You understand? Now, oil-based paint, when you're talking about oil-based paint, one of the disadvantage is that the drying process of oil-based paint is mostly abnormal sometimes when the humidity or the temperature is extremely high. You understand? So which means the evaporation process can be abnormal. So which when the drying process is abnormal, it will force the oil-based paint to shrink, thereby causing alligator crack all over the paint finishing. Now, water-based paint. There are a number of advantage and disadvantage I would have loved to talk about, but because of our time, I'm going to be very brief. Now, water-based paint, just like you know, they are paints that you can dilute with water. You understand? Now, these paints, they are eco-friendly. Their VOC is extremely low. What I mean by VOC, I'm talking about the volatile organic compound. You understand? They are friendly to human health and the environment. This paint you use water to dilute them. You understand? That is why it's called water-based paint. You can also call them lattice paint because it's dilutable by water. Now, what are the advantage? It is eco-friendly. You understand? Secondly, the drying process is by evaporation, so which means when the paint is being applied on any surface, evaporation takes place. Evaporation of the solvent or the liquid in that paint takes place, thereby bringing dryness to that paint. Now that paint is usually friendly in a good temperature or humid environment. You understand? Now a number of advantage is there to talk about. Now, on the disadvantage, oil-based paint, the finishing of oil-based paint is extremely not smooth compared to your oil-based paint. Water-based paint is usually rough, you understand, not that smooth compared to oil-based paint. Secondly, it is penetratable, you understand, which means moisture can affect it and cause possible growth, cause possible mildew, algae and fungi on the rest, thereby cause bleeding on this water-based paint. I want to say, as a client and as a painter or someone that wishes to come into the painting industry, so the first thing that has to come to your mind is, okay, if you are having a paint, how do you categorize them? You have to know that this is oil-based paint. You understand? You have to know this is water-based paint. You are calling them because what you can use to thin them down are in their uniqueness. You can either use a thinner or a water to dilute any of the paint. So any paint that you get in the market and you can use water to dilute it, your mind comes where you say this is a water-based paint or a lattice paint. You understand? Thank you very much. And there's going to be a number of classes I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to talking about the A to Z of how to paint, even as a client or as an upcoming painter that wishes to enhance his or her skill in achieving detail finishing. Thank you very much. My name remains Emmanuel Ezei. I will meet you up in my next class.